Hi, friends. It is November. It has been Thanksgiving weekend, and we just thought I'm off work this weekend, and so I was able to gather a little emotional energy. So we thought we would give you guys an update of sort of how things are since we found out about Anne's diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. So some of you already know that I am a dementia specialist, actually, with an Alzheimer's. I'm a nurse practitioner at an Alzheimer's clinic here in Tampa, Florida. And back in the spring, Anne said that she felt like she was really having some word finding difficulty. And this has been going on for actually a couple of years, but it was pretty subtle. And me being a wife, not a provider for her, just kind of poo-pooed it. But she met with her primary care provider, and she told me she was excellent, and she wanted to do the new Alzheimer's lab testing, which some of you might not even be aware that we now have some blood tests that can actually see if you have the Alzheimer's pathology in your blood. Pretty remarkable testing, pretty remarkable, and we're finding they are really pretty reliable. So that's a huge leap as far as diagnostics in the Alzheimer's world for us. So, long story short, Anne had the lab test done, and they were positive, and I think we were both shocked.
I had we had sent a July a letter out. Are you pushing me?
I'm
away?
pushing your hand out. so
This
you
is giant,
folks, you
giant
won't just
hand
see
there.
hand, right?
I talk with my hands. That we sent a letter out in July to close friends and family about the diagnosis about mid-July, and I had mentioned in that, but for those of you that are not aware, that I had 23andMe, spit in the cup kind of thing, back in when we first moved to St. Pete, I guess in 2015.
Yeah.
They didn't have the blood test then, and it came back that I had one allele.
The ApoE testing.
ApoE.
One positive allele.
4.
Right. She had one high risk allele that showed she inherited an Alzheimer's gene from a parent.
Right. From I think my maternal line. So we had that information, and it was for late stage Alzheimer's, and we talked about it a little bit, but it was like
late onset Alzheimer's.
Late onset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it was like, well, okay, what does this mean? There was nothing to be done with it. It's the bottom line.
And it doesn't mean if you have a high risk allele, it doesn't mean you're going to get the disease, but you just are at higher risk to get it.
Right. And then the other factor that, as we've gone on this journey, is as a child, I had, as a secondary infection, is that what it is? From a childhood disease. I'm not sure. I thought it was mumps. Could have been measles, but I had all of them because there was no vaccines then. And I had a secondary, a mild case of encephalitis. And so we also know now today, in today's world, that people that had that childhood encephalitis do have was it 20%?
It's a risk factor that makes you more at risk for dementias.
But this is all like everything's changing, and we have information now and knowledge that we didn't have.
Right.
So that's
then
something we shared back then.
After she had the blood testing, then the next step for diagnostics is to get the amyloid PET scan. And again, I was still skeptical, being a wife, not a provider. And it came back positive. And so that was, I'm still getting my mind around that,
Yeah.
being a provider and doing this for almost a decade, and now having a spouse with Alzheimer's. So the good news is, for us, is we are catching it very, very early, which is actually rare. I have very few patients come to me in the, there's the stages are, mild, moderate, and severe. I have very, very few patients come to me with mild Alzheimer's, because by the time people really have deciphered, it's not just getting old or aging, that there's something really wrong, they're usually past that mild. I mean, people with mild Alzheimer's, um, can still work and still, are very highly functional, as Anne is still. And in fact, really and truly, her official diagnosis really still is mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's pathology. So, which is sort of a step below even mild Alzheimer's. So, so then what happened after that? We were in the process of selling our condominium where we lived. As many of you know, the Florida market for condominiums is a mess right now.
Crazy.
So we just really felt like our good luck living on a condominium on the water was over, and so we put our condo for sale back in the summer and sold it to the first people that looked at it, which was great. We had
Sold
a
it in
gorgeous
7
view.
days.
Yeah, we did. It was great. So what we decided to do, which sort of just confirmed with this diagnosis, it just confirmed we were doing the right thing, kind of downsizing even, to have a more modest place. And it's in the same complex with our best friend. It's inland a little bit. It's just about 10 minutes from the water, but that makes a big difference when you're talking about destruction and hurricanes. So we did move, and just about the time we were, the condominium that we bought, it was a full gut. That was not our plan, but the one that was perfect for us needed a lot of work.
From door to balcony.
Right. So, and in the midst of all this planning and upheaval and moving and packing, we lived in our RV. We have a small RV, so we lived in our RV out in a park out quite a distance from where I work and where our new condominium is going to be. But anyway, it's where we could find a spot for an extended period of time. So we were commuting back. I was commuting back and forth to work, and Anne was commuting to our new condo to try to be the supervisor. Well, in the midst of all that,
Over the contractors.
Yes. So in the midst of all that, we had a year ago planned a cruise to Hawaii. So in the midst of all that, we went on a cruise to Hawaii, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
While the contractors were working, so we were trying to supervise them from Hawaii.
And our best friend, who
she was helping,
we moved, that was now across the street. She was,
right.
God love her.
She was helping.
She was helping as well.
Right. So, while all this was going on, we were sort of debating the new monoclonal antibody. We were having conversations about the new monoclonal antibodies that are out. I'm sure you guys have read about these miracle drugs that aren't really miracles, but they're what we have right now, like Leqembi and Kisunla. And what these drugs really do, they get into the brain and sort of, the easiest way I know how to explain it is kind of bust up the amyloid plaques, which are the proteins that sort of make the brain they disease the brain and sort of make it atrophy and that kind of thing. So these monoclonal antibodies get in there and kind of break those up, which is, you're not really getting to the root of the problem, but you're at least breaking up the thing that's causing the problem. That's the easiest way I know how to explain it. But they are not without potential side effects. And not that many people are really a candidate for it, because the criteria is that number one, you have to have like legitimate Alzheimer's disease plaques in your brain, the pathology in your brain. Plus, you have to be in the mild state. No more advanced than mild stages. So,
And in pretty good health.
and right, and there's many other, exclusionary criteria that where you can't be on certain drugs and that kind of thing. So anyway, we were just kind of considering, and actually the week that Anne met with her doctor, who is my boss, it was actually the day you met with her, Kisunla was released. And some of the benefits of Kisunla, as opposed to like Leqembi, the previous drug to that one, is the infusions are only once a month instead of every 2 weeks. And why that's a big deal is because that sort of takes over your life if you're having to get an infusion every 2 weeks, and then in between that you're having to go get your MRIs to make sure you don't have any brain bleeds. I mean, it's a lot. So to me, that was a game changer to consider a drug that was a once a month infusion. So Anne decided she wanted to do it, and that was fine with me. I'm supportive of whatever she wants to do. And so it just sort of incidentally happened that her first infusion date was on election day. So that was a no good, very bad day.
Yeah, golly.
So I'll let her take it from here. I'm still working
Until March.
full time, like I said, as a dementia specialist. But this also sort of gave us the motivation for me to retire ASAP. So I'll be 62 in February. So the plan is for me to retire in March, hoping that we will be able to collect Social Security so that I can retire. That being said, her going to infusions, our best friend had to go with her, because you need to have somebody with you. And
yeah.
So on election day,
yeah. So
Ramona and Anne went to.
We did. Ramona and Anne had another adventure. That's what we do anytime
at the Sage Infusion Center. In Tampa,
and those
Florida.
people are super good. They're not in Tampa.
Actually, Clearwater. Excuse me. Sorry.
Super good. Those people are so sweet. In fact, my whole team that is around me, from my prior general practitioner, Dr. Guerra, who had an MRI when I first started talking about my concerns a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
that had a baseline for me
Mm-hmm.
with that, and and nothing was seen, but the blood tests were not available then. That was not a thing.
Right.
But that that baseline. To my present general practitioner, Dr. Lamartin, excellent people that listened to me,
Mm-hmm.
and not just gave me a mocha
Better
test.
than your wife. Sorry.
Well, you're not supposed to listen to me.
Right.
So, that's such a role. But that
She'll tell you she's a little neurotic. So sometimes, in my nurse fashion, I'm like,
I mean, for
toughen
years,
up.
I always say for years she was a hospice nurse, unless you're actively dying. She's like, rub some dirt in it, walk it off.
Right.
So, but no, they had just really listened to me, and if you don't have, and you have some concerns, and they blow you off, your general practitioner, don't let them do that.
Tell them you want the blood test.
Insist that, or if you know that you have the alleles, you've had the 23andMe or whatever, you had a genetic test, or you've had it in your family, or you just know in your own mind that something's not right. You know it, and
at the minimum, your primary care provider should order an MRI of the brain, a p-tau 181, p-tau 217, and the APOE test, and that's at the minimum.
Right, and if they won't, let's say, at least humor me. We can do this,
Mm-hmm.
and you have legitimate concerns because you may be like me, that you still do well on the MOCA test, but that's not the definitive thing.
No.
And so
It's not even helpful for people who are in mild stages or who are super smart. It's not a good test.
right. So I had those doctors there that helped me, heard me, listened to me, and did those things, and it was so weird when it came back positive, the blood test. Um, you know, I wasn't shocked at that because I knew that was, a genetic thing, and that would be possible, that it would be there. And then my doctor made a referral to where Heather worked, which was just so weird. I mean, I was like, that's weird. You're referring there, okay? But I mean, that's one of the centers, and that's another thing that that there are 100 like the centers, I think, in North America or the U.S.
In the U.S., yeah.
In the U.S. that specialize in this because
dementia centers.
Because even people could miss it on MRIs, and so, or what they're looking for, or just blow you off. Don't let people blow you off at bottom line.
Right.
So I had those. My other folks are my team.
And no, let me just add this. And no, when they give you the paper test in the office at your primary care, again, people make perfect scores on those or missed one or two, and it's fine, except then your doctor might tell you, well, you're fine, you scored fine on that. You're gonna score fine until you're actually pretty advanced in the disease. Again, if you're more highly educated, you have cognitive reserve, just don't put too much stock in those paper tests, because you're probably going to do fine on it, like I said, until you're more progressed.
Right. And the team at USF, where Heather works at the Bird Institute, I said that whole group, my doctor, Dr. Smith, and that whole team of people there, I feel like I'm a note being carried. She keeps moving my hand over. A note that's just being carried in an envelope of love through this journey of these people that are not just so smart, but also so compassionate and empathetic, that listen to you and your spouse and just support you along the way. So when I got the blood test, that wasn't. But when they did the amyloid thing, and all that,
Amyloid PET scan,
and I have that patient portal thing that they've got now. You can go in and look at your results, and to see it in black and white there, it was kind of like, I remember sitting in my car going, and audibly going, oh. So it was like, okay, this is for real. This is not just
Yep.
a hypothesis now. This is for real.
Yep.
And
let's go back to your infusion day.
So back to the election day.
Election day, infusion day.
Yeah, we didn't plan that.
Neither to ever be forgotten.
We had already voted, but nonetheless, it was that day. People there, as I said, were just super stellar. And I had this bright idea that I was going to document it. I was going to do this there if they allowed me to not film the staff or anything, but do that. Well, I'm glad to heck that I didn't do that.
We're outside on our balcony, I don't want like all 400 neighbors to hear every word of this.
Well, they're probably listening anyway, or they're deaf and they can't hear anyway, so you got that chance in your favor. What was I saying? Now I lost my thing.
It's okay. So you were at the infusion center,
and I didn't document it, and it was a good thing because I don't know if it had anything to do with the election. I've listened to MSNBC. They haven't put anything on there about my infusion infecting the election as they're doing the post-mortem on it, that had anything to do with it.
Or
or if the election had anything to do with what went down with my infusion.
Mm-hmm.
But needless to say, it wasn't fun. And so I like to think of it as like doing Star Wars in your brain. Pew, 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 pew. And Luke Skywalker, going after the Empire there, and and things are potent, just like people that get any kind of infusions for cancer or whatever. That these things are potent, but
Mhm.
I think until you experience it, you don't know. You think especially if you're in healthcare and you don't know unless you've had it. You don't know. So shout out to those people that are going through it. So my friend Ramona was there, and we had my little blanket and all that, and I was all comfy. Snacks. We brought snacks and stuff, because it's a whole thing. They
It was
tell
an
you,
hour. It was an hour-long infusion.
yeah, they tell you to do
so
that.
you wouldn't want to go hungry in your hour.
That's right, and I might need a snack.
Right.
So anyway, and I was apprehensive. I was nervous, but I was okay. And then they gave me the thing, and they were like, well, now they hook you up, and you'll
Start an IV.
They tell you every step of the way what's going on, and they said you might feel a little something right here with this is saline or whatever. And so now this is the infusion, but you shouldn't feel anything. And it was like a nanosecond. The woman had just come around the front of me after she said that. And I said, I feel it going all through my body. I said, what do you mean? I was like, woo! And so it was, and Lilly, was it the drug manufacturer?
Lilly.
You don't have to get all out of sorts over this because we think it's a good thing, and we're continuing with it. But I had a reaction to the infusion itself, and
As some people do.
and some people do.
That's part of the
I
risk.
had a very immediate reaction, and so it was good. I was not trying to document. That would have been horrific, and certainly not a live feed. As Ramona was like, I know she thought she didn't sign on for this, but it was pretty immediate, and to me, it felt very dramatic. And they started, running around, and I just, I felt it. I felt, I started coughing, and it was like my head was on fire, and I flushed apparently. That was the thing that were seeing me flush, and I felt flushy. I felt like my head was going to kind of, like that from just the flushing. I'm a flusher anyway. I came into this world, as my baby doctor said back in the day, I do with two shades, flushed or pale. That's it. So when I flush, it's dramatic. But this was
there's typically nothing life-threatening about a mild infusion reaction. It's just a strange feeling in your body. So that's not actually unexpected. It's not rare, and it's typically not life-threatening.
But when you feel it, it feels dramatic,
Scary, yes.
and scary. And so
they immediately gave her some steroids.
They gave me some Benadryl,
Benadryl.
and she gave me a lot. And I thought, oh, Benadryl, that ain't nothing. And, like the kid in Christmas Story that puts his tongue on the pole. That ain't nothing. And she gave it to me, and it was like, was it one of those?
Gave it to her IV.
Like what they give elephants, out in the, when they want to tranquilize. It was like that. I was like, oh. I was like, out, done. And I was trying to talk to them, and I couldn't move my lips. I thought that was a lot of Benadryl. And then they gave me steroids, and that kind of leveled me out for this reaction. And I was able to complete the infusion. And then...
So that was Tuesday, right? Election day.
Yeah. And so then whatever else happened after that was just...
So then...
I can't say it was gravy, the election results and all. After that, it was kind of like shit upon shit. I said that, and I'm not taking it back.
So then...
I have a hall pass.
Wednesday, she didn't feel well. Headache, sort of flu-ish.
Yeah.
Thursday was even worse. And then by Friday morning, she was nauseous. And so that's when I lost it. I got scared. Again, I'm a wife. I'm not her provider. And I said, you got to go to work with me. And
it was take a wife to work.
It was take a wife to work. And I made her a blueberry smoothie that morning. And gave her a plastic bag when she was like, I don't think this is going to set well. And I had to be at work at 8 o'clock, you know. So I said, well, here, take this bag. So, you know,
So I threw up the entire way.
purple vomit all into the bag.
The whole way to Tampa.
Right.
And then when I got there, I felt so rotten. I was just, it was like death warmed over. I was pale and everything. And I went into the restroom and said, I gotta pee. And I went in the restroom. And I was so sick, you know. And I go in the restroom before we go into her office, you know. So I go in there and I just, so bad. I'm just like, you know. So I was gonna put some water on my face and pat. And I took my glasses off and I went, oh my God. I threw up because I don't know about some of you guys, and maybe if you want to, I should have done it like a warning or something, a trigger warning. If y'all are squeamish or something, or you vomit, just the word makes you go, you know, then you need to cut this off because I'm going to talk about it. And but you know, I've always been. Some people think I'm very dramatic. I don't know where that's come from.
She's a dramatic vomiter.
And I am a dramatic vomiter, like everything else in my life. It's like, and when I get really sick,
theater major,
I'm like, I'm dying, because it feels like I'm dying, because I'm dying, because when I do, it's very dramatic, just like my sneeze, it's very dramatic. So I had done that all the way, you know, to Tampa. From our St. Pete, which is an hour or so drive.
Right.
And so anyway, so then I get there and I've got like purple, my eyebrow. I went, oh my gosh, this is blood. I thought I had broken a blood vessel in my eyebrow. I have vomited so violently to I was like, oh my God. What I tell them now, I've broken a blood vessel. I'm probably stroking, you know. And I was so scared. So anyway, I go and I'm patting my face with the, you know, trying to cool it off. I got to tell Heather I've broken a blood vessel. And then I put the cloth down, the paper towel down, and there was purple on it. And I realized I had blueberry smoothie vomit up in my eyebrow. I told you I was violent.
So anyway, back to
on
a little more serious note. So
yeah. So back
just to be, you know, but honest here, as Ann's wife, not her provider, this was all flipping me out. And I realized I was emotionally not in a good place to deal with this. And
see patients every day.
Right.
And do what you do.
Right. And I had to go to work to talk to people like her, you know. So anyway, so when we got there, I went to my girls there, and I just burst into tears and I said, I've got to have y'all's help. You know, I don't know if she is, you know, if her intracranial pressure's high and she's having a stroke. I don't know. I don't know. But I can't do this. And so I went to my office. I had to go to work, and the girls there just were so kind.
So, oh my God.
So watchful. And we put her in one of the infusion rooms there at my work, where they do, we do a lot of studies, and so they actually do infusions of study drugs. And my sweet workmates were just so kind, and just watched over her as if she were their patient. Well, you guess you really kind of are, right?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I am a patient there. And I was like, ugh. And every time I'd like roll my eyes back, you know, there was one of them with their head, you know, peeping in the door. But even before then, until I kind of turned a corner a little bit, there was one of the nurses just sat perched there. They had dimmed the lights in there and kind of got me settled, and gave me some nausea medicine and some little, the bands you put on?
Yeah, the little C-bands.
C-bands for
everything we could think of.
Acupressure and all that.
And throughout the day, she turned the corner, and...
Yeah, but she was sitting right there with me, this nurse, and just watched me, you know, until I kind of turned a corner, and then I kind of just went to sleep. But every time I'd open my eyes, one of them would be looking at me. And just various people that I knew there at the Institute that had nothing to do with my care, but were people that I know socially from her working there, just checking in on me. But
Dr. Smith came in.
Dr. Smith came repeatedly in there.
Gave her some Zofran and
checked on me, and had the MRI people, you know, on the ready to squeeze me in if I needed one, because there is something that can happen with the infusion of this, that by having one or two of the alleles, you're at a higher risk for. It's called ARIA. I don't know what that stands for.
Right. What ARIA is? It's sort of an inflammation that can happen in the brain, and it usually resolves on its own. Mostly, there is a hemorrhagic kind that does not, but that's why after you get these infusions, they monitor very closely with ongoing MRIs of the brain to monitor for this ARIA. So that's our story. After that day, then you felt bad for maybe another week. Not real bad, but just a little bit.
It resolved. It was kind of like my head just, I felt it like kind of, I said, where does this thing go? I mean, like this, my doctor, I called it, this, I can't say that on
the witch's brew.
The witch's brew. She told me, don't call it rat poison, because there is a drug
because that's
is
Coumadin,
rat
of
poison.
course.
It's rat poison. That's what my mother called everything, rat poison. So it's, that it feels like it's going down, draining out, like a sieve out my brain. Does it go down my spine? Is that where it's going? And I didn't feel like getting a massage. I didn't feel like getting anything. And I finally did get one at some point, and I think that helped as well, kind of move my body and just made me feel better. But for a long time, I didn't feel like anything except my head was on fire. It was like a dumpster fire in my head. And but then it resolved, and then it just felt kind of cottony back here. It just took a while to go. And I said, so where is, and I asked my doctor, so where is all this, and the stuff that's being broken up, like the debris, like the plaque poop, where's that going? And press her heart has to deal with me, but but anyway, it felt like it finally got out of my body, but it took a long time. And in the worst of it, I was like, I'm not doing this again. I was like, I'm not doing this again. But we did get the second MRI.
We got an MRI last weekend,
and it was clear,
and there is no ARIA, so
I didn't have that.
Yeah, so we feel super grateful. So
we're doing it again.
So this week she has infusion number 2. So we will update you more later.
But we're doing a ahead of thing. We're doing like a prophylactic type of thing.
Yeah.
Where Dr. Smith is I'm gonna have the Benadryl and the steroids up front.
Wear her C-bands.
And I have my little C-bands on that they gave me, my little acupressure bands.
Take your little THC gummy.
My little Cheech and Chong, a little plug for the Cheech and Chong cruise gummies.
Yep.
Dr. Smith said I could take that in the morning rather than I take it at night with my, melatonin, helps me sleep. But I'm going to take it in the morning to kind of chill me out. So I'm going to be like, hey man, cool. But
so now, we are in our new little condo. It's beautiful.
It's love perfect. It so much. It's the best decision other than marrying each other that we ever made.
Yeah, it is. So we're out on our little balcony right now. It's a little screened in. It's a cool November night.
As you can tell, it's Florida winter.
Yeah.
We've got our long sleeve t-shirts on.
We decorated outside the little condo complex, decorated for Christmas, and we decorated our little condo yesterday. You want to see our tree? Super cute. Super, super, super